Hi, everybody. It's Saturday, April 18th, and this is your Daily Dose. I'm Ron,
And I'm Shay.
and we're here to share with you a story, personal testimony of how God delivers you from a crisis or a time when that happened in Shay's life. She's going to share that in just a moment. I want to read to you, though, out of Lamentations. It's an interesting book because Jeremiah was lamenting over what was happening to his people and what was happening to Jerusalem and even for him personally. And if you actually read the book, you'll think, man, this is a depressing book. Why did this pastor even tell me to read this? But there's actually some great nuggets within this really lament that he gives. Listen to what he says in chapter 3, verse 1. I am a man who has seen affliction by the rod of his wrath. This is how he's feeling. He has driven me away and made me walk in darkness rather than light. Who is he? He is God. Indeed, he has turned his hand against me again and again all day long. He even says he has made my skin and my flesh grow old and has broken my bones. How many people feel that today? But here, Jeremiah is in a crisis, and in the middle of his crisis, he does something interesting. As much as he's lamenting at all that's going on and literally just blaming God, and sometimes when you're depressed and down, that's what we do, and I know I've been there. He says this in verse 20. He says, I will remember them, all of these things. And it says that his soul is downcast. The word we would use is depression. He was depressed within him. Yet he says in verse 21, this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. Do you see what he says? He says, because of the Lord's love, we're not consumed. For his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. And he says, I say to myself, because sometimes in this time of depression or this time of crisis, we have to speak to ourselves the truth of God. The Lord is my portion. Therefore, I will wait for him. That's the encouragement that Jeremiah would want us to have in the midst of our crisis. And Shay's going to share with you a story about her and when she went through a crisis and how the Lord delivered her from that.
Yeah, so right now we're dealing with a virus and our nation is in a crisis. And when my daughter was going into 4th grade, she dealt with a different kind of virus, and it was a huge crisis for our family. She got really sick, and it seemed like she just had the flu. She was throwing up and lethargic and, pretty tired. She couldn't go to school. And I was becoming concerned at about day 6, 7 when things weren't turning around, and so I took her to the doctor, and he was also concerned and felt we needed to do some testing, like an MRI, and that came back clear, and so we weren't quick to get answers, and it was starting to get a little scary. Like she hadn't been eating for a week, so she was losing weight, and she was admitted to the hospital here and quickly transferred up to a hospital 4 hours north. So we were up at OHSU, and she was getting a battery of tests, and all the test results were coming back negative. So we still didn't have answers, and I was beginning to just reach out to the Lord and say, what's going on? This is a huge crisis, and Paige's body is just falling apart, and she wasn't able to see clearly or walk, and all the doctors were just scrambling, and finally they realized it was a virus that had gone up into her brain and inflamed a part called the cerebellum, which really throws off a lot of your body systems, and that was a good thing to find because it was an answer for us, and the hope was that her body would just start to heal itself. But as a parent, as you watch your child go through some suffering like this, you begin to really question, which way is this going? Is there going to be healing, and are we going to happily move into the rest of our lives together, or is there going to be a loss? And I remember just seeking the Lord and looking for peace in all of that, and the fact that I could settle on the promises that he had a plan and a purpose for us, no matter what the outcome was a big comfort in my life at that time. And of course, the outcome is Paige got healthy and recovered fully from everything, and is 15, just got her driver's license, and a huge joy in my life. But that was a big crisis to go through, and I wasn't sure what the outcome was going to be, and I can't imagine not having the hope of even heaven. Like, if I had lost my daughter due to this illness, I would have seen her in heaven, and that's because God has given us such a great blessing in adopting us into his family, and we know that there's a place for us waiting. And so sometimes it feels like God is delivering us just through a crisis, and other times he's truly delivering us from a crisis, and we saw a great outcome, and I have a healthy daughter and a happy family.
And that's a great example of God delivering someone from a crisis. But we also know this, that oftentimes those answers don't go as we had hoped, in a direction that we plan, and God will deliver us through the crisis. So our encouragement to you today, whether he delivers you from it or through it, he promises that he will be with you. The psalmist says, "Why so downcast, O my soul? Put your hope in what? In God." That's where we put our hope, ultimately, in the Lord himself. And just like Jeremiah, we know that his mercies, his compassions, they never fail. They are new every morning. Great is his faithfulness. That's our encouragement to you today. As you face this crisis of corona and whatever might come along in your life, know that he promises to be with you in it. God bless you, and we'll talk to you next time.